Welcome. My name is Cindy. I'm so excited to be here with Bethany today to talk to you about her journey, her unique journey in instructional design from education. Hi, Bethany. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Cindy?
I am super excited to be here with you today. So tell everybody, what are you doing right now?
So, I have started my own LLC and I'm working as a freelance instructional designer.
I am super proud of you. So what did you do before?
I was a music educator. I worked for 9 years in charter schools, public schools, you name it. And I really loved teaching. I did. I loved working with students, and I felt like it was a good career for me at the time. But once I had kids, it really solidified just how much of my life teaching was taking up. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to have the balance of being a present mother and being a teacher and do that to the fullest extent that I wanted to.
It's a really interesting point, right? That you
Yeah.
want it to be, I've heard a lot of teachers talk about, right? The amount that teaching consumes you and how you're there for so many other children all day, every day. And then when it's time for your own, you're just spent. You have nothing left for your own kids, and you feel like you gave it all to other children and not for your own.
Yes, 100%. And I spent so much of my life educating myself on how to work with children and childhood development. And I felt like I wasn't being able to apply that to my own kids, which is what's most important to me, of course.
Why did you decide to become a freelance instructional designer? And how is that working out for you? Why is this the best choice?
So you can tell my kids are very important to me. And as I was going through my journey of trying to become an instructional designer, going through building my portfolio, the more stories I heard about people who went into freelance, it just seemed like the right fit for me of something that would allow me flexibility in my hours. So that I could go pick up my kids after school and I could still do something that was creative, fulfilling to me, and gave gave me something to use my brain on. But I also wanted to be able to spend more quality time with my children than a 9 to 5 would allow me to do. So that was really the driving force for me deciding to become a freelance instructional designer.
I really love that. And as an entrepreneur myself, I respect you for doing that. I applaud you for doing that. It is in a lot of ways a harder and scarier journey than going and working for somebody else, but there's so much more reward on the other side where you get to control how many clients you have, how hard you're working, how much you're working, how much money you're making, right? And there's a tremendous amount to be proud of when you have created something literally from the ground up.
Yeah, it was definitely a scary thing for me to do and to believe in myself to be able to do it because you hear about the job market being oversaturated, how hard it is to break in as an instructional designer. And I had to believe in myself the whole time that I could do it, but then to also say, and I want to do this freelance, it felt it felt like a bigger step. And I had gotten to the point where I had built my portfolio and I'd put my resume together and was applying for things, but I was still doubting myself if I could successfully launch a freelance business. Because it did just feel easier to, okay, put your resume in, put in a cover letter, and you've got a job.
Right,
That sounds great, right?
right,
But
right,
it didn't act like having that achievement didn't actually get me what I wanted in the long
right.
run.
And that's really important. When people are making a pivot, it's important to go to something, not
Yes.
run from something. Like to be strategic about this is what I want rather than I'm just running away from that.
Yeah, it's definitely important. And you have to think about what is most important to you and what you want your life to look like. And I
Exactly.
think I knew what I wanted my life to look like, but I didn't necessarily have the courage to go out and say that out loud
So this
in a way.
might be where I ended your story. So tell everybody here, what was it like before we met? What was it like while we worked together? How did I help you out?
So when I came to you, I had basically, like I said, built a portfolio, put together a resume and a cover letter, and was applying for things. But I didn't really know where to go to apply for what I wanted, which was to land contracts rather than a full-time job. And it felt overwhelming. It felt daunting. I wasn't really having much success. I'd had a couple of interviews, a couple of recruiters reach out to me, but it just felt very daunting to actually commit to pursuing freelance. So I was still applying for full-time jobs and seeing what kind of contracts were out there. But I think that in my mind, I was going, well, if I land a full time job, at least that's a step in the right direction for what I want eventually. But I think once we started working together, once we talked for a while, it was really you who encouraged me to stop pursuing full-time work. Like what why waste your time, really?
Right,
And
you didn't
go for
want right,
what
you
I
didn't want
wanted.
it, right?
Yeah.
So now how did I help you in learning how to market yourself and go out there to get the roles, the freelance gigs that you really wanted?
I think you really encouraged me to think about what are my strengths as an instructional designer, as somebody to work on a team, and to put that out there of talk about what am I good at and how can I help people. You also helped me to brainstorm different ways to put myself out there because I think I was going through a lot of the traditional routes that most people who are looking for jobs were doing, looking on LinkedIn, looking on Indeed, those
Which is not
big,
where
big.
you're gonna go when you're launching a business. So we went over a lot of different methods for how you can launch a business, right? How
Right.
you can start it. What audience? How do you find your niche? How do you target them? How do you market to them?
Yep.
What kind of information do you want to put forth so that they will see you as the right person?
Yeah, who to talk to and what to say to them, really, was what we brainstormed a lot, and thinking about how would that really help me to land clients, because I think when you're a teacher, you're not used to marketing yourself. That's
Right.
not something you have to do. You have to be able to deliver a lesson, and you have to be able to write a lesson plan, but you're not there selling yourself. That was very much out of my comfort zone and outside of my skill set. And it, but it didn't mean that I couldn't learn it. And I think you were really helpful in helping me to realize that about myself is I was capable of doing it. I just hadn't practiced it before.
Well, thank you. Yeah, like all of a sudden this transformed from how do you market yourself on a resume to how do you market yourself in the world, right? How do
Yeah.
you market yourself to people who are going to want to buy your services?
Being able to put yourself into the right inbox, into the right like room, whatever it is, to find that person who's looking for exactly what you can do is just a different mindset and a different skill set, I think.
I like that you talked about being in the right room because we talked about how to be in the right room online. We
Yeah.
talked about how to be in the right room in certain different, online groups. We talked about how to be in the right room in person.
Yeah. Of working. with local businesses in my community, and that's something that I am passionate about. I love working kind of grassroots and working in the world that's around me and seeing the difference I can make, and that's something I loved about teaching, right? So, it's something that I'm also hoping to be able to do, with my business.
So tell everybody, you went from really struggling to get to get the contract roles and having to put yourself out there to now people are coming to you, right? Businesses are coming to you.
Yeah. Um, I think after we worked together, I was working on writing proposals. I found a lot of success on Upwork, submitting proposals that way. And I was getting businesses, getting clients, getting interviews that way. But anybody who's been on Upwork, you may or may not know, to submit a proposal to say, like, I want to apply for this job, it actually costs you money, which is a little scary and a little bit like it feels almost schemy sometimes. But you just have to make that investment. It's kind of, I thought about it as self advertisement a little bit of,
That's exactly what it
yeah,
is.
getting
Okay,
my
that's
name
exactly
out
what it is.
there. And I I just believed that I would see a return on that investment. And it's a pretty small investment when you think about it big big long term, you know? But within the last month, I haven't had to submit any proposals because at least a couple times a week, somebody is reaching out to me and asking me to interview, or even just saying, like, I think you're the right person. Can we chat?
Which
Which is
is
amazing.
phenomenal. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really amazing, right? That
But
you went from one to the other in a very short period of time, right?
yeah,
In
it
just a couple
was,
months.
yeah, it was like almost felt too good to be true because I went through a lot of months where I was just worried about how
Because you're
long is
starting a
this gonna
business.
take? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, you were starting a business, and there's a challenge in that, but there's so much reward in that.
Yes.
Okay. And I really appreciate the fact that you realized that you needed to first invest in yourself, right? We work together, invest in yourself to learn how to do this, but also invest in your business going forward. That I can't just expect that all these offers are going to come to me. I have to pay the amount I have to do to put in these bids, right? It is
Yeah,
a marketing.
it is, and I think it's not necessarily something that a lot of freelancers think about is I have to market myself, but it
Correct.
is, I think, an important key part of being a successful freelancer.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. So, what was the most important thing that you got out of us working together?
I I think it was honestly the confidence to go for what I knew I wanted. Um, Before we worked together, I was going in 20 different directions because I wasn't sure what was going to stick. And I was just like, well, if we throw spaghetti at the wall, at least we'll get something back maybe someday. And it was just, I felt chaotic in my own brain. I felt like I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to work on today.
I remember that you were like everywhere. It's like, all right, we have to figure this out. We have to narrow this down just a little bit
Yeah,
because it's very different to apply for freelance roles versus applying for a full-time position.
it is. And I didn't know how to do it. And you helped me figure out how to do that and what to focus on. Um, that really helped me.
Well, thank you so much. Any words of advice for anybody else who's thinking about maybe taking the freelance instructional design route?
It's scary, but it's worth it. It it is so worth it, and you will absolutely love being your own boss. It's great.
Totally agree with you. 1,000% agree with you. Well, thank you so much. I know that your business is going to continue to grow and thrive over time, and that you will get to create it and shape it exactly the way you want to fit your life and the life of your family. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, thank you for being a part of my story.
Aw, thank you.